Chapter 24. The New World, and the Women Who May Not Dwell Therein. Up here in the Glen schoolhouse, after my pupils have straggled home, there comes to me at times, and so sudden that it may be while I am infusing my tea, a hot desire to write great books. Perhaps an hour afterwards I rise, beaten from my desk, flinging all I have written into the fire, yet rescuing some of it on second thought, and curse myself as an Inglenook man, for I see that one can only paint what he himself has felt, and in my passion I wish to have all the vices, even to being an impious man, that I may describe them better. For this I may be pardoned, it comes to nothing in the end, save that my tea is brackish. Yet though my solitary life in the glen is cheating me of many experiences, more helpful to a writer than to a Christian, it has not been so tame, but that I can understand why Babby cried when she went into Nanny's garden and saw the New World. Let no one who loves be called altogether unhappy. Even love unreturned has its rainbow, and Babby knew that Gavin loved her. Yet she stood in woe among the stiff berry bushes, as one who stretches forth her hands to love, and sees him looking for her, and knows she must shrink from the arms she would lie in, and only call to him in a voice he cannot hear. This is not a love that is always bitter, it grows sweet with age. But could that dry the tears of the little Egyptian, who had only been a woman for a day? Much was still dark to her. Of one obstacle that must keep her and Gavin ever apart, she knew, and he did not. But had it been removed, she would have given herself to him humbly, not in her own longing, but because he wanted her. "Behold what I am," she could have said to him then, and left the rest to him, believing that her unworthiness would not drag him down, it would lose itself so readily in his strength. That Thrums could rise against such a man if he defied it, she did not believe, but she was to learn the truth presently from a child. To most of us, I suppose, has come some shock that was to make us different men from that hour, and yet how many days elapsed before something of the man we had been leapt up in us. Babby thought she had buried her old impulsiveness, and then, remembering that from the top of the field she might see Gavin returning from church, she hastened to the hill to look upon him from a distance. Before she reached the gate where I had met her and him, however, she stopped, distressed at her selfishness, and asked bitterly, "Why am I so different from other women? Why should what is so easy to them be so hard to me?" "Gavin, my beloved!" the Egyptian cried in her agony, and the wind caught her words and flung them in the air, making sport of her. She wandered westward over the bleak hill, and by came to a great slab called the Standing Stone, on which children often sit and muse until they see gay ladies riding by on palfreys, a kind of horse, and knights in glittering armour, and goblins, and fiery dragons, and other wonders now extinct, of which bare-legged laddies dream, as well as boys in socks. The Standing Stone is in the dyke that separates the hill from a fir wood, and it is the fairy book of Thrums. If you would be a knight yourself, you must sit on it and whisper to it your desire. Babby came to the Standing Stone, and there was a little boy astride it. His hair stood up through holes in his bonnet, and he was very ragged and miserable. "Why are you crying, little boy?" Babby asked him gently, but he did not look up, and the tongue was strange to him. "How are you greeting so sair?" she asked. "I'm no greeting very sair," he answered, turning his head from her, that a woman might not see his tears. "I'm no greeting so sair, but what I grat sairer when my mither died." "When did she die?" Babby inquired. "Lang syne," he answered, still with averted face. "What is your name?" "Micah is my name. Rob Dow's my father." "And have you no brothers nor sisters?" asked Babby, with a fellow feeling for him. "No, just my father." "You should be the better laddie to him, then. Did your mother no tell you to be that afore she died?" "Ay," he answered. "She told me aye to hide the bottle from him when I could get hand on it. She took me into the bed to make me promise that, and syne she died." "Does your father drinna?" "He holds more than any other man in Thrums," Micah replied, almost proudly. "And he strikes you?" Babby asked compassionately. "That's a lie," retorted the boy fiercely. "Leastwise, He doesna strike me except when he's mortal, and syne I can juke him." "What are you doing there?" "I'm wishing. It's a wishing stone." "You are wishing your father wouldna drink." "No, I'm not," answered Micah. "There was a long time he didna drink, but the woman has sent him to it again. It's about her I'm wishing. I'm wishing she was in hell." "What woman is it?" asked Babbie, shuddering. "I dinna ken," Micah said, "but she's an ill ane." "Did you ever see her at your father's house?" "Na, if he could get a grip o' her, he would break her o'er his knee. I hearken to him saying that, when he's wild. He says she should be burned for a witch." "But if he hates her," asked Babbie, "how can she have such power over him?" "It's not him that she has hand of," replied Micah, still looking away from her. "What is it then?" "It's Mr. Dishart." Babbie was struck as if by an arrow from the wood. It was so unexpected that she gave a cry, and then for the first time Micah looked at her. "How should that send your father to the drink?" she asked, with an effort. "Because my father's mighty fond o' him," answered Micah, staring strangely at her, "and when the folk ken about the woman, they'll stane the minister out o' Thrums." The wood faded for a moment from the Egyptian's sight. When it came back, the boy had slid off the standing stone and was stealing away. "Why do you run from me?" Babbie asked pathetically. "I'm fleid at you," he gasped, coming to a standstill at a safe distance. "You're the woman." Babbie cowered before her little judge, and he drew nearer her slowly. "What makes you think that?" she asked. It was a curious time for Babbie's beauty to be paid its most princely compliment. "Because you're so bonny," Micah whispered across the dike. Her tears gave him courage. "You might gang away," he entreated. "If you kent what a differ Mr. Dishart made in my father till you came, you would maybe gang away. When he's roaring foul I have to sleep in the wood, and it's awful cold. I'm doubting he'll kill me, woman, if you dinna gang away." Poor Babbie put her hand to her heart, but the innocent lad continued mercilessly. "If any shame comes to the minister, his old mother'll die. How have you such an ill will at the minister?" Babbie held up her hands like a supplicant. "I'll give you my rabbit," Micah said, "if you'll gang away. I've just the one." She shook her head, and misunderstanding her, he cried, with his knuckles in his eye, "I'll give you them both, though I'm mighty sweer to part with Spotty." Then at last Babbie found her voice. "Keep your rabbits, laddie," she said, "and greet no more. I'm gaun away." "And you'll never come back no more o' your life?" pleaded Micah. "Never no more o' my life," repeated Babbie. "And you'll leave the minister alone for ever and ever?" "For ever and ever." Micah rubbed his face dry and said, "Will you let me stand on the standing stone and watch you gang away for ever and ever?" At that a sob broke from Babbie's heart, and looking at her doubtfully, Micah said, "Maybe you're gey ill for what you've done." "Ay," Babbie answered, "I'm gey ill for what I've done." A minute passed, and in her anguish she did not know that still she was standing at the dike. Micah's voice roused her. "You said you would gang away, and you're not goin'." Then Babbie went away. The boy watched her across the hill. He climbed the standing stone, and gazed after her until she was but a coloured ribbon among the broom. When she disappeared into Windy Ghoul, he ran home joyfully, and told his father what a good day's work he had done. Rob struck him for a fool for taking a gypsy's word, and warned him against speaking of the woman in Thrums. But though Dow believed that Gavin continued to meet the Egyptian secretly, he was wrong. A sum of money for Nanny was sent to the minister, but he could guess only from whom it came. In vain did he search for Babbie. Some months passed, and he gave up the search, persuaded that he should see her no more. He went about his duties with a drawn face that made many folk uneasy when it was stern, and pained them when it tried to smile. But to Margaret, though the effort was terrible, he was as he had ever been, and so no thought of a woman crossed her loving breast. End of chapter 24.